Hello and welcome to Magical Travel Adventure. I am Lauren, your host, and today we are going to talk about my top 9 recommendations for restaurants when going to Disney World with toddlers. That is a very long description of what this video is, but I have a toddler and I can say that eating at restaurants at Disney World can be real hit or miss for my toddler. I have a semi COVID baby and he did not go to a restaurant. He went when he was a really, really young baby. Um, and probably like 3 to 6 months, and then did not go to a restaurant again until he went to Disney World for his first time. So it's kind of like a dramatic change for him to go to a restaurant and sit there. And so I kind of have some recommendations that I have for everyone. And I did quick service and I did sit down meals. And this is all in the parks, except I have one bonus one that's out of the parks. And I do have a tip at the end of the video that will maybe help you if you have a really picky toddler and things like that. So my son goes through his phases. And so just like everyone else's toddler, you just need to know what phase you're in with your toddler, and that will best help you going forward. So let's get into it. If you don't know, I am Lauren. I'm a travel advisor. If you need help booking your next Disney, Universal, or cruise vacation, my information is below. So now let's get into my first selection. So we're talking about quick service first. My first selection is Cosmic Rays, and this is in the Magic Kingdom. And why do I pick Cosmic Rays? Has nothing to do with the food. Nothing. It has to do with this man right here, Sunny Eclipse. And he is in the restaurant where you're sitting down. This is a quick service location, and I kind of have the menu over there so you can see it's just burgers, fries, basic stuff. But Sunny Eclipse is playing his piano. I guess it's a piano, and kind of talking and singing throughout. And hey, if you're a parent and you would like the incessant questions to stop for 10 seconds, and so that you could take a whole bite and chew it before the next question starts, this might be the answer to all of that. Because you can sit down, you can sit by Sunny Eclipse, and he is talking, and kids are typically mesmerized by him. So that is the only reason that I picked this. And when I was planning this out, it was one of those days where my toddler would not stop talking. And I was like, oh my gosh, I have to think about what restaurant I would bring him to. This is definitely the place that I would go, because I think that this one kind of distracts your kid. And when you're doing a quick service, sometimes you kind of need that when you're doing a quick service. Like, you just need other stuff going on. Like, you need a break from talking, you need a break from thinking, you just need a little bit of a parent adult moment in your brain. So if we're moving on to Epcot, my pick is Sunshine Seasons. And this is both a pick for parents and both a pick for kids. So in this location, the toughest thing is that there's no mobile order. Most of the quick service locations have mobile order, but this one does not. However, it has lots of different options that you can have. So that's kind of why I like it. Like, your kid just might want his, chicken fingers and fries. That's totally fine. You can get that. But you, as the adult, can get like real food and different types of food. Like, I kind of have part of the menu there, but there's Asian noodles. There's different types of options that you have here. And that can help you as a parent. It is also in the middle of all this distraction. There are people trying to get to Soarin'. There are people trying to get to Garden Grill, which is another restaurant that is there. There are people trying to getting on Living with the Land. It's in the Land Pavilion next to where Nemo is in the front of the park. And it just has a lot of things going on again. So people could be watching or things like that. And everything is right there. So it does, and it's inside. So these are great options for you as parents And if you have those toddlers, it just kind of gives that extra distractibility for them. Now, if we're at Hollywood Studios, I would say Woody's Lunchbox. But again, there's a star on this. Woody's Lunchbox, as you can see in the picture, is completely outside. So if it's super, super hot, wouldn't really recommend it because it's probably not worth it for you. It might be worth it to grab a snack or something like that. But I think it is a good place for kids. I would say if you desperately need air conditioning, that you could do the ABC commissary. That's also a good one. And I'm not saying that anyone is not good. I'm just trying to help you as a parent to survive with your kid. If they're talkers like mine or just need that distraction so you can have a minute to eat, and that might have food that they are willing to eat. So if you have this is a little more adventurous eater. However, they have like common things like a grilled cheese sandwich here. So that's kind of fun. And you're in the middle of Toy Story like land. So you can see Slinky Dog, going on the track as you're sitting there. You can see alien swirling saucers swirling around as you're sitting there. It's just an easier location and you can mobile order here. So this is a great, great option. I actually mobile order a lot for breakfast here too. They have breakfast options too. So this is a good option any time of the day. And it might be a great dinner time place because it's darker then and the sun is not so hot. So it's not as hot out for you. Of course, I went backwards. If you've been here before, for some reason, every so often it just automatically goes backwards. All right, now if we move on to Animal Kingdom, my choice is Harambe Market. Again, this is a kind of place where there's different kinds of options, but they have I don't want to say regular options. They have options that kids would eat. So that is super helpful. It also allows you as a parent to get different types of things that are kind of fun. And this is an outside place, but it just kind of seems kind of like busy and stuff like that. If you're really if your kids like need to have pizza, there is Pizza Safari that you could also eat at. And that would be inside. So, but I really like Harambe Market. I just think it's it has just a nice feel to it. And I don't know. Animal Kingdom in general is just more relaxing, I think. So I don't think it's as stressful when you're finding food because the kids have a lot of things to look at easily in that park. So for toddlers, it's just sometimes easier for them. All right, so now we're going to move on to sit down restaurants, or Disney calls them table service restaurants. So my choice in Magic Kingdom is Crystal Palace. Now, Crystal Palace is moving to a buffet. So right now, I don't think they're at the buffet yet, but in the coming days, they're moving to a buffet, and it's going to be for breakfast, lunch, and dinner that you can have a character meal with Winnie the Pooh and his friends. So I like this location, and I would say that Magic Kingdom is actually one of the toughest places to find like the best food. But I would say Crystal Palace is probably the best because it has that full character experience. There aren't full character experiences like that in another location at the castle. Sometimes Cinderella shows up, sometimes not. At Be Our Guest, you get the Beast, and that's it. So here you have multiple characters that are constantly coming towards you and entertaining your child. Now, what does get difficult is now that it's back to a buffet, you have to go up and get your food and then come back. So for parents, it's hard when you have toddlers and you have to manage getting their food and your food. Not always the best, but still, I think that the ability to have multiple characters come up to you is probably the best to help with your kids. And if you stay for over an hour, I promise you the characters come and cycle through that time. The only time that characters will not cycle through as much is just at the end of a time when you're going to be like, if they're ending breakfast, the characters aren't going to be out as much. If you're in that last 30 minutes, 45 minutes before they close for breakfast, the characters are going to be less. So just remember that you might be able to easily get those reservations because a lot of people know that, hey, if I book an 11:15 reservation here at Crystal Palace, like I can get us in. But the characters aren't going to be out as much. So it's not as much of a relief for you. And you really want to make sure that if it's breakfast, you're eating at a breakfast time for toddlers because they don't always understand the change of times. Or maybe your toddler's super flexible, unlike mine, and can do that. But this also looks out to the castle. So you could have some really great views while you're in there and just looking at the castle. So this is my choice for um, Magic Kingdom. Space 220 is my choice at Epcot. Now, I have to talk about Space 220 because there's multiple options. So there's Space 220, which is a lunch and dinner. It is a prefix meal and a prefix price. And the dinner is quite expensive for adults. It's around $80 per person per adult. But there is also something called the Space 220 Lounge. And first of all, I picked this place because it's space. You go up an elevator, they make it look like you're taking this elevator up into space, and then you're in space. This is what the restaurant looks like. And you can order food, and it's really cool for kids. My son absolutely loves this place, and he thinks it's the coolest place ever to eat, and he's really, really into space. So you know your kids, if your kids are one of the toddlers that is into space, this might be the restaurant for them. Now, the restaurant portion is down here, closer to the screen. And if you see this bar right here, that separates the restaurant from the lounge area. And anyone can make a reservation for either the restaurant or the lounge. The lounge is you get to choose from a smaller menu and you choose whatever you want. Maybe you just get a drink, maybe you just get an appetizer. It doesn't really matter. So if you are trying to save a little bit of money and just want to try it out, that might be the way to go, as opposed to paying all this money for yourself and your toddler to eat 3 bites of a meal while they're in space. So I always recommend, if you're taking a toddler, we normally go to the Space 220 Lounge. I may try with my son to take him to the restaurant and see how he does, but that is by far my number one recommendation if your kids are into space. If your kids are not into space and you need another option, I would say Garden Grill is a character meal in the land, like I talked about when I was talking about Epcot before for Sunshine Seasons. Just know that the restaurant does rotate slowly. It's a slow rotation in the 60 minutes. I unfortunately do not do well with that, so I can't really do that one. So if you get motion sickness, I had severe motion sickness when I was pregnant. So if you had that, that might not be the restaurant for you either. Now, if we move over to Hollywood Studios, Hollywood and Vine is like my number one pick by far. Hollywood and Vine, again, they are moving back to a buffet. But what I will say is the characters are classic characters like Mickey, Minnie, Goofy, and Pluto, and they change what they wear for the season. So currently it's October, so they are in their Halloween outfits. And when Halloween's over, they will move over to their Christmas outfits. And then they will move over to their springtime outfits and then their summertime outfits for the correct season. And I think that's super fun because we have been at Christmas time, but we haven't been at Halloween. And so now we're going to try it for Halloween because my son loves it. And it just gives like an added bonus, like you're getting something special, because often characters are, you don't get those special costumes. So if you can't get to a Halloween party or you can't get that Mickey and Minnie together in their Halloween outfits, then you make this reservation and you can get the Mickey and Minnie in their Halloween outfits and take pictures with them that way. So it kind of is a two-way option for you. Instead of having to wait in a line for characters, you have this character meal. And the kids have a lot of fun. They just really, really like it. So you can really, really enjoy this meal. And the characters come around a lot. They do a picture when you first come in. So I just really like this option a lot. Now, Animal Kingdom, Tusker House. This picture is super blurry. I don't know why, but it wasn't blurry when I put it in. So this is in Animal Kingdom. And this is such a great option if you are going to Disney World. This is, again, it's going back to a buffet. So unfortunately, like for parents, I know that's a little harder is doing the buffet, but I do think it's worth it with the characters because they do come around a lot. It's just a very distractible place for kids, and I think it just moves it along. Again, you get to meet the characters in their special outfits, so that helps a lot. And I just really like this. This is one of the few places that still offers a reservation before the park opens. So if the park opens at 9, the reservations typically start at 8 a.m. So you could be done with your food and in the parks. Granted, you'll have early entry people that are already in there, but you will still, if you're not staying on site, this is a great option so that you can get into the park early. So that is also another recommendation. That's how you can get into the park a little earlier, kind of get ready for that safari right away. Now, my bonus one is at Disney Springs, and it's the T-Rex Cafe. And let me tell you, this is like a super hit. If you have dino fans in your family, this is hands down. This is the first restaurant we took my son after COVID, and he loved it. Oh my gosh, all these stupid things are on here. Sorry, I don't understand. So anyways, so with this, the T-Rex Cafe is super, super fun. It allows kids to be distracted. It's very, very similar to Rainforest Cafe, but with dinosaurs. So you also need to know your kid. My kid is very sensitive to sounds and things like that, and he did okay with T-Rex Cafe. We just had to have them sit us in a specific location. So if your kid is like that, you might be able to also say that also. So just know that. But if you have a Disney Springs option, just know that also. So, my big, big tip with toddlers, my number one tip with toddlers and food and eating out and everything like that is I pack a peanut butter and jelly sandwich for my son every single day because sometimes that's all he wants. And I know that, sure, it's easy. Like you want to be on vacation, you don't want to make the sandwiches, you don't want to do it. But it's sometimes it is so much easier and you need to know your kid. And I have made him the sandwiches and he's like, yeah, that's fine. Like he doesn't care if he eats at a restaurant, he doesn't care what he's eating. So if you want to like take it easy at the beginning of your vacation to see how your child does, I would say typically breakfast is the best way to do a sit down meal first, see how they do. And then you can move on from there. Like what are some other places that you might want to eat? And you can make the reservations and end up canceling them the day before. Because if you have toddlers, there's no way to predict. There's just no way. What they liked last time, what they like today, what they liked yesterday isn't the same. So it's okay to book that reservation and decide whether or not you're really going to do it or not. I will say though, if you have toddlers, you don't want a lot of reservations. You have no idea how they're going to react when they go. Are they going to be exhausted? Are they going to be able to do certain things? Are they, not going to want to sit there and rest? My other thing, this has nothing to do with eating, but I always give this recommendation is if you have a toddler, you want to make sure you give them that play time. They can't just go ride to ride to ride all the time. You need to give them that break time. So Epcot has a lot of places like there's a drum place where kids can like play the drums. My son loves that. We brought a Frisbee the last time. We played Frisbee for 15 minutes every day after his nap and then went onto the playground that was at the resort. And then could go back to the parks. But he needed that like break time where he wasn't just riding rides. And that might be helpful for you as you get your child ready also. So just throwing that out there. All right, that will do it for our show. And yes, if you need help planning your next vacation, please reach out below and I will see you next time on Magical Travel Adventure.